Every year around Halloween, I abandon my normally clean eating and I go to town on my kids' Halloween candy. This happens year after year without fail. And this year I decided to do some reflecting. And what I came to realize was Halloween is an emotionally charged holiday for me. I know, seems weird. I grew up in a town where I was very much an ethnic minority. So I really enjoyed getting to cloak myself and hide behind a different persona to feel more comfortable in my own skin. Although I didn't consciously remember this, my body did. So come when October would roll around, all of a sudden my cravings for sweet and crunchy food would really skyrocket. Now think about you watching me as I eat this. You can hear the crunch. Maybe you can almost taste the candy. And what we really have here is a physiological response to something that gives us a release. Now, what are emotions? Our emotions are trapped sensations in the body. Sometimes when we're angry, we feel it in our jaw. When we're sad, we feel it in our throat and chest. And guess what parts of the body get used when we are eating? We crunch the food with our teeth, we swallow the food with our esophagus, and it goes into our stomach, another hot spot for emotions, namely anxiety. So there's this massive mind-body connection when it comes to emotions, and that's exactly where emotional eating comes in. Sometimes, in order to decrease our feelings of stress, anxiety, anger, sadness, we try to use external factors like food to satiate and subdue and suppress what's going on inside. This can really create almost a chemical dependency on using food as a coping mechanism. Now, there's tons of research that supports the notion that gut health and our mental health is very deeply intertwined. This is why it's important to pay attention to our patterns, to notice what emotions are driving our cravings or our tendency to look to food for comfort, and to try to use alternative methods that still do the same thing that food does for us. If it's the release of the crunch, well then, go on and crunch on an ice cube. If it's about the smell, use essential oils to invigorate your sense of smell. If it's about texture and sight, the outdoors. Grab some leaves, rub them in between your hands. It might seem silly, but eating is a very sensory experience. Now that we've talked about the physiological connection, let's talk more about the emotional side. So specifically speaking from my cultural background and point of view, food and coming together for food is very much associated with pleasure, happiness, and celebration. Think about our weddings, think about birthdays, or even just evenings with the family when all the emotions would seem to, for the most part, settle, and there's a sense of belonging, safety, acceptance, and unity, and the thing that is the common denominator bringing all those factors in, food. So what do we have created now? We have an association with the scents and aromas of our lovely spices, which also are extra creating tingly sensations in our mouth as we're consuming them. But also emotionally, we start to have this association that in order to feel those nice, cozy feelings from our youth again, we got to go through food to get there. In a culture where pleasure, enjoyment, and fun is quite limited, food is very well one of the select few limited things that our families actually give themselves permission to indulge and enjoy with. So if we've got maybe just one or two coping strategies and then a whole lot of intergenerational trauma and present day stressors, then it gets pretty tricky to not develop an unhealthy relationship with food. I know we kind of went off on a few tangents there and I got distracted by the Smarties, but let me know your thoughts. Do you think we have a physiological dependency on using food for comfort? Does culture play a role? What has food meant to you in your lifetime? And what are your thoughts on those alternative coping strategies? Let me know.